2 days ago, I was reflecting on Genesis 1:26 and 27 and being made in the image of God. And before we move on to the next video in this series, I wanted to just reference an article on my blog where I interacted with a universalist who claimed that the image of God meant that we are icons, and therefore if God was to destroy us in terms of annihilation, that would make him an iconoclast, which is a heresy in Eastern Orthodox, and therefore God can't be a heretic, therefore he can't be an annihilationist. Now this shows the importance of the image of God in Christian thought in other areas, and this idea of God being an iconoclast is taken up by Robin Parry, who some of you may well know as the Evangelical Universalist, and on his blog he makes the argument in more detail, and you can see a full quote on the screen, but this is from my blog, thehellproject.online, and under the article titled, Is Annihilation Iconoclasm? And so in there, Robin Parry makes the argument that as icons, if we are to be destroyed, God is the greatest of iconoclasts in a negative sense. Now there's multiple issues with this, and I just wanted to highlight the other thoughts on what the image of God is. And one of these is from Webb Mealy, who is a Bible scholar, done a lot of work with Revelation, holds some very interesting views on the millennium and how to interpret Revelation. Highly recommend interacting with him on that. But I'm just going to quote a couple of things that he highlights, most notably, the argument that destroying a human being created in the image of God fails misunderstands the image of God as a thing. It is not a thing, but a relationship, the relationship of parent to offspring. This we can quickly understand by comparing two things the author of Genesis says. So it highlights, let us make mankind in our image, after our likeness, and then further on in Genesis, we see this being described of Seth. When Adam had lived 130 years, he fathered a son in his own likeness after his image and named him Seth. Now, whether you agree or disagree, this is interesting. The additional information for many universalists will highlight the father not being able to destroy a son. So it might be additional information for the universalist argument here, but it is an interesting take on the image of God, that it is about a parent offspring. And finally, in relation to the iconoclasm charge, I think William Tanksley Jr. from Rethinking Hell, he has a good thing to say in that, highlighting that even within Eastern Orthodoxy, there is a way icons can be destroyed in full piety. And he argues because what they represent is not identical to their own substance. When an icon is damaged, it must be first burned to the point that the image is no longer visible, and then broken up and respectfully disposed of. This shows that annihilationism is plausible if we view sin as damaging man as a bearer of the image of God. Second, the penalty for damaging an icon by malice or negligence can also be severe. Some of the miracles of icons involve how accidental damage was allegedly punished, and of course deliberate damage of icons receive penalties up to and including death. So if we damage ourselves and we are deliberately in sin, perhaps that is the penalty that we deserve. And so there is an argument even within the understanding that we are icons in the way that Eastern Orthodox holds, that God as a destroyer of icons isn't then charged with heresy. So there you go. I hope that helps as a further reflection on the image of God. I'm going to be doing the video on Genesis 2, or going into some of the verses in Genesis 2 as soon as I can. Thanks for watching.